Hello and welcome back to the Out of Spec Podcast. I have Polestar 3 owner Jules here with me today to really talk about the Polestar 3 experience. You own a few other EVs or have owned a few other EVs in the past, also own a Gen 2 R1T. So we'll see kind of what your experience is when it comes to electrification, how it compares to your Polestar 3. But yeah, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing well. It's awesome to have you on here. We're looking forward to doing more of these owner interviews on the Out of Spec channel, not only with our US EVs, but Asian Pacific market, China EVs, as well as European EVs. So if you are an EV owner and you want to talk about your EV, feel free to email us. Email is in the description, and we'd be happy to have you on. So, Jules, you have a Polestar 3. What is your configuration?
I had the performance dual motor max pack. I went all in with the Pilot Pro Assist and the, I can't remember what other package they call it, like pure integration. It's fully loaded. You can't really get much more than that. And it was kind of by chance, just that's what the dealer had on the lot available at the time.
Okay.
The reason I got the Polestar 3 was my Tesla Model X was involved in a car accident. I was not driving. My friend was. He's fine. Everything's fine.
Good.
It was a blessing in disguise that it got totaled. I was kind of over the Model X. Nothing against Tesla or anything like that. I've had 7 Teslas. I love the brand.
Oh,
I just needed a change in my life, and I was a little underwater. And this way, it got out of that one and into the Polestar 3, or into another vehicle is when I was looking for it.
nice. A really cool transition. Unfortunate, but now
Yeah.
you're in something new, kind of cool. Now, what's your daily range? I guess your routine with your Polestar 3.
Yeah, so my daily range is about 260 miles because I do have the Monster 22-inch performance tires that I love, but at the same time I don't love them because where I live it's a winter climate, so they're summer tires. I really can't drive it when there's bad weather out, and I've only had the car for like 2 weeks now, and a week of that I was away. So and it's been snowing, so I'm like, well, it's kind of sitting in my garage. It looks really pretty, and I go and sit and play with all the buttons or the touchscreen buttons and have fun with it. But it's about 260 I think on the good day. Obviously in the summertime it'll be better. I'm hoping anyhow.
Nice. And these are the wheels that you have, these 22-inch sport
Oh no,
wheels.
22-inch performance.
Ooh, okay, 22-inch. Oh,
Yeah,
down here. Oh, even
yeah.
better looking. Oh,
Those
geez.
ones.
Ah, yeah, with the nice yellow caliper. That's
Yeah.
looks really nice.
They're really, really nice wheels. I've gotten a lot of comments in the short week of having it already on the wheels and the design of the vehicle. You know,
Awesome. And I guess compared to your Teslas, so you've owned several Teslas, now you're on your Polestar 3, the driving experience. I think one of the bigger things we hear when coming from a non-Tesla EV from a Tesla to a non-Tesla EV is the driving experience ecosystem as well as the software. What are your kind of impressions kind of making that transition?
driving is better,
Okay.
and I think everybody's beating it to a dead horse now. Fit and finish is obviously better. Tesla is a Tesla. Everything's within tolerance with Tesla, and Volvo Polestar did a much better job assembling the vehicle. It's put together really well. Software, they're lacking a little bit. They're releasing a lot of updates, and I'm actually waiting for the most recent update, which includes like CarPlay and walkaway door lock and I think like hotspot. A lot of other features are coming. It's like 15 features that are coming. I am waiting for it. I actually was reaching out to Polestar because I didn't get it when I was away for the week. And they're like, oh, you need to drive the car like for at least an hour for it to download.
Oh,
And I'm like,
okay.
okay, that's a little weird that to drive a car when it's sitting in my garage with Wi-Fi. Like my Rivian, as long as it's connected to Wi-Fi, will get the update eventually. This car, I have to physically drive it, which is fine. It's just I work from home, so I don't really drive constantly for an hour or like, I mean, about multiple days. I'll reach an hour eventually, but like maybe I just take it for a long road trip and drive around.
Nice. And I guess you mentioned your R1T. Two of the companies I feel people compare the most are Polestar and Rivian, in terms of, I would say, some of their ethos and brand styling. How does your Polestar 3 compare to your Gen 2 R1T? Totally different vehicle, larger, longer, bigger battery, bit different there, but what do you see?
I would say they're pretty close. I will say the build coming from an R1T Gen 1, the build quality on the shows, I mean, it's astronomically better. It's insane. Like it just feels better. It drives better. It drives my truck drove like a truck before, and now it drives like a car. It drives like my Polestar, and I'm kind of like torn. I'm like, I bought this I bought both vehicles right around the same time. The deals were really great, and I'm like, maybe I should not have bought one or the other because I feel like I'm torn between which vehicle I want to take every day when I do go out for my spend a short errand or something. It's just like, do I take the Rivian or do I take the Polestar? Mostly, I've been taking the Rivian just because of the weather we've been having. But if it gets in the summertime, it's going to be a toss up, honestly, between what I take. The Polestar, I mean, has massaging seats. It has their vented seats, which Rivian has that. But the driving dynamics is really nice at the Polestar. Where the Rivian's great, it's just leaning more towards the Polestar for driving stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine. Smaller. I think Geely, Polestar, Volvo, really long history with not only just creating vehicles, but performance driving. And so they likely have that tuned down well. I guess among all of the other EVs that we have on the market, right, came from your Model X, you chose the Polestar 3. You mentioned that there were good deals. Why didn't you pick something else like a Macan EV or like a Wagoneer S or like a Mach-E? What made you pick the Polestar 3 and that really drew you to it?
Yes, I did go on like a bunch of test drives. When I knew my car was probably totaled, I went down where I live. There's a bunch of car dealerships in Mechanicsburg. So we took a trip down there Saturday. I drove an ID Buzz. I actually love that vehicle. It's just not for me. It's way too big. But I was like, I love electric vehicles. So I looked at those. I don't like Porsche as a brand. I just don't like how they nickel and dime. Like, you want CarPlay? Oh, that's $500. Oh, you want vented seats? That's $1,600. Oh, you want heated wheel? I just don't like it. Like, just give me all or don't give me it at all. All or nothing approach. I don't like how they really a la carte. I guess some people like that. I personally don't. And I just don't like the dealership where I'd have to get the vehicle from. I don't like that dealership very much anymore. So it kind of was bad DNA, and it kind of hurts Porsche as a brand, I guess, for me anyhow. Or even, and I'm not a big Ford fan. I've driven Mach-E's before. I've driven, my mom has a BMW i4. So I was like, that's not for me. I've had a lot of experience with vehicles, and I kind of was like, well, I want to try something different. I owned an EX90 years ago, back when Geely first bought Volvo, or when they came out with the new body style. And I had one of those, and I really liked it, but it was just too big for me. I'm a single person with 2 dogs. I don't need a 7-passenger vehicle. And then my friend, who's also a fan of the podcast, we were down, and he's like, why don't we check out the Volvo dealership? And I'm like, Volvo? Why would I look at that again? So we got there, and the sales lady was really nice. Now, they didn't sell Polestar. They just sold Volvo there. And she's like, how about you sit in this EX30? And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's really small, but like, sure, I'll sit in it. And the second I sat in it, I'm like, this is a really nice car. Like, I really like this vehicle. The buttons, I like everything that's about it. It's built really well. And it was a Chinese spec, completely built in China. It somehow got here, I think, because they're now transitioning to being built in South Carolina or somewhere else because they can't get the tax credits and all that tariffs and all that stuff. But it was a Chinese spec. It was 100% made in China. And I'm like, this is a really nice Volvo. I'm like, I really like it. I go, but I think I need something a little nicer. So that's when I got online. I looked at Polestar. I just literally found the spec. Mine's a white Polestar. Like I said, it's performance pack. It's maxed out. And I'm like, all right, I want to put $500 down. Worst case, it's refundable. I'm like, if they call me, great. If they don't, whatever, I'll get it back. And the dealership that I'm working with is Polestar Princeton in New Jersey, and they have been fabulous to work with. I got the 10,000 clean vehicle incentive. I got the tax credit. I got Conquest Cash, free delivery. I don't think that's to everybody. Probably shouldn't have said that, but they hooked me up with everything. I was very happy. I didn't even see the car or drive the car. I basically took delivery, sight unseen, driven unseen. I've done that with Tesla several times, and also Rivian as well. When I bought my R1T the first time, it just got dropped off my house, and I'm like, well, this is my truck now. There's no going back now.
What was the buying experience like? Just straight from finish, how easy was it as compared to what we see with Tesla and Rivian, where a lot of it's handled online, but you said you dealt with the dealership. How complicated or easy was that?
It was super easy. It was actually easier than Rivian. And being that I bought my R1T I leased both vehicles, but being that I leased both of them literally in the same week of this, I can say that the process on Polestar was a lot easier. Everything was online, from purchasing or putting the deposit down, filling out the credit app, all that stuff. The dealer just reached out to make sure everything was going good, and then we had an email chain back and forth with just questions that I had. And I didn't have many questions about the vehicle, more just delivery, timing, when can I get it? Because I had this trip coming up, and I'm like, can you please drop it off on Saturday because otherwise I'm going away for a week and I don't want to sit up your lot for an additional week if
Right.
I'm going to have it. But I put the deposit down on Monday and I had the vehicle by Saturday. And
Nice.
I would say Rivian was pretty similar, but the issue was with them, and I think they fixed it now, was they wouldn't give me final out the door numbers where being able to talk to
Right.
the dealer. I don't want, like I said, even Tesla gives you out the door numbers. So being that they were able to say, here's going to be your payment with your taxes, titles, first month, everything due, here's what you owe us. That was great. Where Rivian's like, you got to put money down first before we'll actually even give you that number, which is, again, I think they did fix it now, I believe.
Yeah,
which
they
is good.
fixed it now.
As they should have. It should have been
Right.
that way from one. And that was what made the process of my review difficult. I knew I had some negative equity. I knew that the incentives would have wiped out most of it, but I just wanted to know how much is getting applied. I wanted to see all that on paper, and they just couldn't give it to me. They just told me, yeah, it's taken care of. I'm like, no, I want to see that it's taken care of. But all in all, it was a really smooth process, and the dealer's been great to work with. I had a couple quirks and bugs already on the first, like when I first got it, the audio wasn't working, and he guided me real quickly how to basically just lock the car, walk away for 30 minutes, and it reboots, and then it was working again.
Sweet. That's the thing about these dealer networks. Of course, Volvo itself has a vast dealer network, and they've started to extend with Polestar. But the issues we see, particularly with Rivian when it comes to the purchasing process, I dealt with the same thing. I didn't know what my out-of-door price was until I was on the way. I was 4 hours driving to Orlando to pick my R1T up, and then I found out what like the out-of-door pricing was. And so it's good to hear that your process was pretty smooth. Now, what's your favorite feature of your Polestar 3?
The massaging seats.
Okay. It sounded like it. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, you said massaging seats before. I was like, yeah, this probably, but
Yeah, that is
feature.
I had several BMWs with massaging seats, and they use like an airbag system. This actually uses like some kind of mechanical massaging seat. I'm not sure how that's going to work out longevity with the vehicle, but it works really well. It feels like you're getting an actual, like those massaging chairs that they have in airports and like malls. It feels like you're getting a real massage on that. It is amazing.
Dang. What about, I'm jealous here. Now I'm taking this in. I'm like, I wish my R1T had massaging seats.
Same.
Is there anything you've disliked or found frustrating about your car?
Yeah, mostly it's going to be software related.
Okay.
It's just it's lacking some, like the buttons on the steering wheel don't have any labeling to them. Now they are semi, I guess, like capacitive. If you just wave over them, it'll let you know what they do. But currently, only the right side driver or the right side buttons work. The left side do absolutely nothing. No volume control. You can't skip tracks. You can't do anything with it. They say it's coming in a future software update. It's also missing HomeLink right now, which is kind of a big deal. I have this $90,000 car with a garage door opener in it, and I'm like, come on, give me a touchscreen button, or even give me the mirror. I was kind of hoping it had the mirror because the X30 that I looked at had the mirror, which I prefer, like what Tesla does, and I'm hopefully Rivian will do is where it's automatic. When you drive home, it dings and the door goes up, and when you leave, it lowers it automatically for you. But hopefully that'll come in a future update, is what they're saying.
That's good. That's the good thing about, I think, a lot of these software-defined vehicles, over-the-air updates. Have you received any just major over-the-air updates so far?
No. I'm still waiting on the main, I think it's 1.2.6. That's the big one. I did get a small one when I first took delivery of it. I had to install a security update, and then there was a small software update for bug fixes and improvements. It didn't really say what it did, but I did get one update already, and I'm waiting for my next big update. Hopefully that will come soon. I should already have it. I just gotta go drive the vehicle. So not a problem there.
Nice. And road trips, have you done anything like long distance with your Polestar 3 so far?
Nope. No, I when I travel, I pretty much hop on an airplane. So most of my cars, they stay within my area of like 200 miles or less, and that's kind of how I usually don't take them on road trips. I do have, it did not come with an AX adapter. I do have an extra one from my Rivian. It does have Tesla supercharging access.
Right.
I don't know how that works because I know the Rivian supports plug and charge. Allegedly, the Polestar does too. When I go to set it up, I think it's very still in the European market where they actually have it, because the app doesn't exist in the US App Store. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to do the old fashioned way where I show up the supercharger and select my stall and plug in and go, which is fine. But again, I rarely DC fast charge my cars. So it'll certainly be a test, because I like to do just for fun and just to see, hey, it works and prove a point. But I haven't done that yet. The weather's it's a little too cold out here for me to be standing out in the supercharger trying to figure out when I don't have the need to do so, when I can just plug it in the home and deal with home charging.
That's nice. You're really, I wouldn't say you're babying it, but whoever gets your R1T and Polestar 3 next, they'll be very lucky. Well taken care of, it seems.
They're like favorite princesses and princes, and they don't get DC fast charge much, and they're local.
Sweet. What about efficiency? Do you know what your average efficiency is looking like for your Polestar?
It's actually lower than the Rivian. I do know that.
Okay,
I think it's just the tires. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like 2.4 kilowatts hours a mile. My Rivian's cruising right a little above like 1.90. So yeah, the Gen 2 is super efficient. The Gen 2 is super efficient. That heat pump really makes it like it's insanely efficient.
I imagine, especially in those cooler climates. Down here, it doesn't seem to make it too dramatic of a difference, other than what seems that we'll be getting an over-air update with the charging. But heat pump does kind of help just a little. What about? Sorry, go ahead.
Was it the heat pumps? It's a little louder than the Rivian, which is surprising, because the Rivian's really loud, like it's screaming at me, and I'm like, and then the Polestar is like, it's a different buzz, but it does have a heat pump. It is pretty loud, but it does work really efficiently as well. I'm pretty happy with the heat. I haven't tried air conditioning yet, but I'm sure if the heat's good, it's going to cool good as well.
I find it interesting how I think a lot of what we talk about with infrastructure, charging infrastructure, and long distance traveling for someone like you who really stays within 200 miles of where you live, it doesn't seem like DC fast charging infrastructure is something that it's like you absolutely need to travel for. So for someone like you, where a lot of EVs don't have access to the North American charging standard yet, an EV that doesn't have that would work just fine. Now, of course, the Rivian and Polestar do, but for you, it just seems to work well.
Yeah, it works good for me. I will say I'm in the weird spot where when I do travel on those shorter road trips, it usually does sometimes need, my old Rivian definitely needed charging because they only got 289 miles. And if you go that full 200 miles, I'm not going to make it back home. And before access to the Tesla supercharging network, it was a disaster. I think it's getting better. I honestly, since I've had access, and I've only taken my Rivian Gen 2 on Gen 1 on 3 road trips. Once I got Tesla access, I only charged at superchargers exclusively because I knew that they would always work and I would always have a great experience. Where Electrify America is kind of like the Wild Wild West still, at least in some areas. I know our charger, my friend, he has an Ioniq 6, and he just loves running that 30-minute free EA charging. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. He has a house locally, and I'm like, why would you waste your time sitting at Sheets charging? But he's like, no, I love it. He goes, especially when the stalls are down, I'm just sitting there charging to 100%. I'm like, what are you doing? But he loves it. He knows that's not good, but he just likes to do it just to spite other people at times.
I get it. What's your daily charging limit? Since you're doing DC charging.
Yeah, 90%. Okay. Yeah. I like to have a little extra in case I ever needed to get out, or go on a longer road trip, or, just something happened. That's why I actually didn't get another Rivian SUV when I was looking at it, because I'm like, knowing my luck, I will have 2 Rivians doing a software update at the exact same time, and I won't be able to go somewhere, and I'll need to go to the hospital, or I'll have to go to the vet or something, and I'll be stuck at home, even though where I live, my mom's not too far away, and I have family and friends. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I need to have brand differentiator between the 2 brands, just so that way I'm not locked to one ecosystem.
Right. Just some convenience. What does Polestar recommend you to charge to on the daily?
90%.
90%. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the slider starts at 70. It goes up to 90, where it's recommended. And then if you put it up above it, it yells at you. If you put it down below it, it yells at you. Well, it just says you shouldn't charge below this and you shouldn't charge above this unless you're going on a road trip.
It's funny. What about, I guess, driver assistance? I have absolutely, it's kind of funny. I've never driven a Polestar vehicle, so I have no idea how the driver assistance works. Have you had time to play with that on highways?
Yes. Yeah. So it has, I don't want to say autopilot because it's not like Tesla's full self-driving by any means. It does work on secondary roads. It won't
Nice.
stop for you. It won't do anything like their system does, but it does keep you in the lines on secondary streets. On the highway, it will change lanes for you. It will follow the vehicles, slow down, all that stuff. It does a pretty good job. It's definitely a level 2 system.
Okay.
It's not anything crazy. Allegedly, the one that's going to come with the LiDAR system, which I don't have, that's going to do a little bit more full self driving or more automation driving. Not sure how they're going to. It's supposed to come out mid 2025, but my dealer said that they're like pushing them back already, like another like 6 months. So I don't think Polestar has the capacity to be rolling out cars, rolling out software updates, and starting an autonomy platform at the same time, because it
I
takes a
want
lot to make self-driving cars.
right. We just made a video about like all of the Chinese automakers from BYD, Geely, Xiaomi, Huawei, particularly Geely, who in China they seem to have decent self-driving systems, and we know the EX90, which is made on the same production line as the Polestar 3 in South Carolina, also has LiDAR above. And so you'll have to be like a resident out of spec Polestar 3 owner. So we'll have to come back and catch up with you to see what that experience is like with highway driving once that gets updated. But you mentioned like that LiDAR. So I know the EX90 has a giant like horn in the middle, right?
Yeah.
With LiDAR. So the Polestar 3 doesn't have, I know of course it doesn't have a horn. Visually
Yes,
we can see that.
mine does not have that. The mid-cycle 2025 or 2020.5 model year should have it if you opt for it. I call it the little hat. Looks like a little hat it has, or I'm like I don't want my car to have a hat on. It looks so stupid, but it does have the LiDAR. I think what they're reading the Polestar forums, there are some engineers in the group. It sounds like they're using the EX90 to kind of collect or capture data to then roll it out to the whole fleet wide. But it's like I said, it's very early processes, and he ended up deleting his comment because I think he might have gotten in trouble or something happened, because he definitely said that he goes, it's really hard to do all 3 things at once, and we're trying to focus on one. And that was my gripe with Rivian for the longest time, is I just want reliable, stable software. Like, I understand you want to grow, but like when I first got my R1T and when I first got my Polestar, I'm like, it's missing half the features in the software. Coming from a Tesla Model X or a Model S, I'm like, it's missing so many features. Like, I can't put my wipers in service mode. I can't change my own tires. I have to call the service center to change them or to change it in no, that should be an option under settings. And Tesla they didn't have it either at first, but their cars are just now so well baked and their software so well put together. When you get in vehicles that are software defined that are lacking these features, you're like, wow, I'm missing a lot of stuff. Now, to the average car buyer that's coming from a Hyundai Ioniq or a Hyundai, Santa Fe or like a Subaru or something, they might be like, oh, this looks fine. But to somebody like myself who's pretty advanced in, cars that have had, this is my 40th vehicle, or my Rivian is my 40th vehicle.
Wow.
I know a lot about software. When I see stuff missing or grayed out, like the walkway door lock is grayed out, and I'm like, this should be available to me from day one of ownership. Not something that's coming. That seems like a pretty simple feature. When I walk from the car, I want the lock.
Yeah, it's kind of bringing that up. I noticed that people complain, I guess, about the phone to key system that the Polestar 3 and 4 have. Have you had any issues with that? I've actually noticed in the comments as well.
Knock on wood, I haven't had any major issues. I did have, when I came back from my trip, I parked in my friend's garage. It was there for a week. It did not recognize my phone as key. Now, I was able to unlock it from the app and start it with my phone in it. So it did somehow recognize it, but it didn't want to unlock my car, which I'm like, I'm glad I didn't take this to the airport, because I would be pretty upset. And I do always carry my key card with me. My dealer did tell me that, to keep your key card with you, because they are having some issue with it. Apparently, this new update does fix that. So hopefully that'll be resolved. But I have not had any major issues other than that. Luckily I was my neighbor lives like 2 doors down from me. So I was like, not the end of the world. I did leave my key card at home, but I was able to like get in, and it did work for me. So I'm like, at least that did let me in. It did let me start the vehicle and drive it home. So for me, no issues yet.
Sweet. Now I don't want the viewers and listeners to think I totally glossed over the fact that you said you've owned over 40 vehicles so far. Do you mind walking us through, I guess, the electric vehicles that you owned and your process of owning them and how you got to the Polestar 3?
Oh boy. Well, my first
Yeah.
electric vehicle, my baby, which I love to this day, and I wish I still had it, and I never should have gotten rid of him or her. I don't really name my cars, but my first vehicle, first electric vehicle, I was looking at a BMW M235 or M2 or M2. I don't remember. They didn't have the M2 out. It was M235. And I went down to test drive it, and I'm like, I don't really like this car. And there was this, at the time I thought it was ugly, but it became near and dear to my heart, was the i3. And I got in that car and I fell in love with it instantly. And I'm like, I need this car. And they're running crazy incentives with it. And I was like, I'm buying it or leasing it, done, sold. When can I take it home? And I got that day. And I drove the crap out of that car. Like, favorite electric vehicle of all time, honestly. Like, it was just the materials and just the driving dynamics of it. And BMW, I always had BMWs growing up, so I was very fortunate in that. I just loved being in an electric BMW. And then I had an i8. I actually traded in on an i8, which is the hybrid stuff. And then we got a Model S. And then I had X3.
I'm sure you said I8.
Yes.
Really? You had an I8? That's crazy. What was that like?
That was fun. The town where I'm from, everybody was constantly looking at me and staring at me and asking questions about it. And it was a fun driving vehicle. Getting in and out of it kind of sucked because it was so low to the ground and the door sill was so wide. My dealer really told me when you sit down, you sit on the door sill and slide into the car. And I'm like, okay, I mean, sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, that was a fun car. And then we got into Tesla. Trying to think other electrics that I had. Oh, I had the iX too. That car
Okay.
was a horrible car, and I will never own another BMW electric because of that car, probably.
Wow. So you had an interesting look at what BMW's electric efforts have been. We'll catch up into the iX in a second, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah. And then, after the iX, I got the Rivian. I had the Model Y at the same time, Rivian Model Y, and then Tesla was offering crazy incentives on the Model X. So I swapped up because I wanted something a little bit bigger. I hated the Falcon Wing doors, even on the 3Xs. I know I've had 3Xs. I've always hated the Falcon Wing doors. They were a pain in the butt. I get for some people they work out really great. For me, they were just more cumbersome and got in the way. I'm driving by myself, so like it's fine. I can hide in we're not taking people with it, but they're cool. I get it. But I've been mostly with Tesla, BMW, Rivian for my electric stuff. Haven't really had too much other electric brands. My brother drives an Ioniq 6, and we got that for him just because it was a really good deal. And then same with my mother's i4 is a really good deal, and she wanted to try something fun and sporty, and I'm like, here you go. This is a good way to get into it. And I'm not counting their vehicles in the 40 that I've owned.
Yeah.
we get into that, we're getting into the 80s probably of vehicles that we've had in our family.
Wow. Yeah. So you've got some serious experience.
Yes.
So yeah, i4, your mom, iX, i3, i8, super cool. What made you dislike the iX?
So it was an early VIN, and sometimes early VIN cars are have tons of gremlins, and mine had lots of gremlins. It was in the shop every other month, and I will give BMW credit. They took really good care of getting the vehicle. They came and picked it up. They took it down. They got me a loaner. I can't get into too many details with it, but basically I don't have the car anymore, and I didn't have to make payments on it anymore.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
BMW took really, really good care of me, and that's how I got the Model X. Is they kind of told me, what vehicle do you want? We'll get you whatever vehicle you want. And I said, well, I don't want a BMW again. I want this. And they said, we'll make it happen. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
yeah, super easy. Get me out of this.
Yeah.
I guess it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people would actually cross shop the iX and the Polestar 3. And so, as someone who's probably had over 80 vehicles among your family, it's interesting to get people's opinions about, I guess, modern EVs. Now, do you think so far that you'll kind of stay with Polestar, right? We have the Polestar 4 that will soon be coming in more groves to the United States, currently with its rollout in Europe. We're getting the Polestar 5. Soon we'll have the Polestar 6 and 7. How are your feelings towards Polestar? Do you think you could be a Polestar guy?
Yeah, honestly, I was literally was talking to my dealer. I'm like, it's a 27-month lease, which is a really weird lease. But I kind of said, after the lease is up, I think I'm definitely looking at probably a 4, or pending what you have out, maybe a 6 or something, a little whatever that's looking like. I said, because I definitely really like the brand. I really like their software compared to BMW. The BMW software no matter after iDrive 8 came out, I think it was 8 or 7.5, whatever they redid it, it just got horribly atrocious. And I'm just like, it's menus deep. You want to turn the heated seal, and you're going like 6 menus deep. And I'm like, this should be a button.
Right.
And I know coming from, I'm a millennial, and I'm like, I should not like buttons, but I'm like, I do like having buttons. But I guess that's my one complaint on the Polestar is they got to fix the software, and they seem to be doing a good job with it. But it's not like Tesla Rivian where you have your quick access buttons. The heated steering wheel is like 2 menus deep. And I'm like, okay, why can't that just be a button where I just push the button and heated steering wheel on? Really easy to do that, integrate that. Same with the climate controls. It's also like 2 menus deep to make a change. And I'm like, I just want to have a button where I can up and down real easily. Now, They seem to be, it looks like in the Polestar 4, which has the horizontal screen, which gives that little extra real estate, it does seem to have some more options to control climate, control your heated seats, which would be really nice. Hopefully that'll come to mind. Maybe, I don't know how they can fit it in there, but it's getting better. Their software, like I said, I like the layout is a lot better. It's not as clunky as BMW's software, with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Curious. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm like, taking a look at this Polestar 4. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I definitely think in terms of styling, I would go for the 3. But this horizontal screen, I think I'm just used to horizontal screens at this point, Rivian and Tesla. But
that was hard for me to get. Well, not hard, but like it's when I got in it, I'm like, oh, I'm back in my 2017 Model X where we have the vertical screen. Like, okay, it's 2017 here again. Can I turn this? Can I like move it? Because there's clearly room for it to be horizontal. It just doesn't. I don't think that was their DNA at the time. I think they are a little legacy and they're behind in some things. Or at least the 4 now has the horizontal screen, which I think most manufacturers, even BMW, they launched with iDrive 10, which I'm interested to see, but it's now basically made 4 large horizontal screens with angles cut out of them, but we'll see how BMW does that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to have you on for some BMW stuff as well. You can be the Polestar guy and our BMW guy.
BMW, they're going to come after me. I had some really good calls with some really high up people at BMW North America. I actually did some beta testing with their software, like swore to secrecy on that kind of stuff. But they did want my opinion on it, and I gave them my opinion on their software, which I think, looking at BMW 10, I'm like, I definitely mentioned something about it being bigger and having, more real estate for buttons and things, or not buttons, but like, touch areas you could put the heated steering wheel, heated seats. And now seeing it, I'm like, I don't want to say it was just me saying it, because I'm sure there were other people that said the same thing, but I'm like, I was really strongly worded in that focus group. I'm pretty sure they're
taking notes. They were like, "Oh, this guy's really. Maybe we should really change what we're doing here."
I mean, I kind of was like, I'm never buying another BMW if it doesn't have a big screen. I was like, it's not worth it. I said, unless it's 15 inches, I don't want it.
They took that to heart.
I think they did. I mean, the screen is, I think it's 16.1. So I'm like, they at least got that down, and you can even do projection on the new one. But that's BMW. Head-up display. It does have a head-up display, which I love, in the Polestar, where I wish more auto manufacturers would put those in.
Sweet. And would you mind breaking down your lease, if that's okay with you? I can check this out as well. I was gonna say, so 20.
Do you want financial stuff, or do you want just like ballpark?
Yeah, I guess just a ballpark. But you've had it. Oh, I kind of want to talk about the timeline. So 27 months, right? Which is kind of unique, right? Typically, we see either 24 or 32, but 27. When did you get your Polestar 3?
I got it the last week of January, the 30th, whatever Saturday that is. That's when I got it. Yeah, and then their lease terms that they offered me was 27, 39, and 43.
That's interesting.
And I was like, these are so weird lease terms. I'm like, all 10, 12, or 15,000 miles. I did 12,000 miles just because I did between 2 vehicles. I'm never driving more than 24,000 miles a year. I'll be fine.
Yeah. You say 27, 39, and
43.
43. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. So 27 months would be April. 39 would be April again, but then 43 would be August. So I was thinking maybe they had a specific month where they're trying to end their leases, but
wow. Yeah,
2027.
Yeah, I don't. I did want to do a short release just because I am looking at a Scout Traveler coming out
Nice.
right around when my lease is going to be ending ish. Obviously, I don't want to be first delivery because they got to work some bugs out. But I'm like, this could timeline would be perfect for when that comes out. Or also the Rivian R2. I have a deposit down on both, and I'm kind of gonna get to a wherever they have them on display and hopefully drive them and not just take them delivery sight unseen, sight driven. I need to get over that. But yeah, so 27-month lease, 12,000 miles a year. I did not have to put anything down other than
Nice.
taxes, titles, and first month's payment, which is pretty standard for a lease option. And then I'm right around $1,000 a month, just where I'm with the map with everything.
Perfect. Yeah, it is definitely seeing all the progression that Geely and Polestar has. I'm hopeful that we're getting more Polestar Geely vehicles to the United States.
Yeah, this one was built in South Carolina. Yeah, where the seems that the Chinese ones are having a lot of issues, at least in the Polestar group that I've been reading, and most of them are from. Oh, they're all the people that are having issues are in Europe or over in that area, and they're having a lot of issues. It seems to be with the Chinese version. I don't know why they don't really have an explanation. I know with the software update that was rolling out, they're having a lot of issues getting the software installed, and I'm like, I can't speak for it. I'm still waiting for mine, hopefully to come. So I'm checking my phone. I'm like, is it coming down? Because I guess it gives you a notification. You can't install it from your phone yet, which is a little weird, but it'll let you know that it's down there. So we'll see how that goes. I could come back in a week and be like, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
But it does seem the people in the US that have gotten their update do seem to have pretty good luck with it and not having any issues.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, sorry. No, I was like, hey, no. Did we mention South Carolina? But yes, so you got it from South Carolina.
Yes,
but...
yeah, I got mine from South Carolina. The EX30, which I sat in, which basically sold me on Volvo. That one was a Chinese.
Okay.
I will say a lot of my parts. I checked the Maroni sticker are from China. I think everything like the motor, the transmission, the material, like most of it's from China. I think there's a little bit from Canada or Mexico maybe, and then it was just finally assembly was in South Carolina.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, because I know the first few batches of the EX30 to the United States were from China. It's going to be interesting to see how, with maybe new tariffs we get in the United States, what pricing for the Polestar and Volvo vehicles look like, especially those that are imported and get a lot of their parts from China. Because if those are tariffed at a higher, different rate, then we can definitely see some pricing changes. So maybe you got a really good good deal. It might go 2x next week. Who knows?
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for, because my Model X was not a great deal because I bought it at the high point, and then 2 weeks later Elon was like, we're gonna make it $79,000, and I'm just like, I overpaid by $20,000. How am I gonna eat that loss?
Yeah.
So
yeah, what was that like? So you buy this vehicle, Elon's like, hey, we're decreasing the price. Did you just eat that, or were there any trying to contact Tesla to resolve things? I mean, of course, that's just how buying works. You bought it before the price change.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I ate it, and I said I'm going to be stuck with this vehicle for a while. Now, fortunately, we played the Gap lottery, and we won. A lot of my friends work in the car business, so cars are always underwater as soon as you drive them off the lot. So they'll get customers coming in and be like, oh, he's playing the Gap lottery, and I'm never thought I'd be playing the Gap lottery and wanting to play it, but it worked out for me.
Yeah, you won. You got something pretty nice.
I mean, it wiped me out clean. I was free and clear of the vehicle, and the insurance company got to eat. Now my rates, I'm sure, are going to go through the roof. Actually, I know they went through the roof. Insuring electric vehicles is not cheap, whether it be Rivian, Tesla, BMW. It's insane.
I've talked to my adjuster, and they're talking about Teslas and Rivians and all of the EVs, and they don't want to deal with fixing them, even though the price to fix them might be less than the actual value of the vehicle. The complications and the length for getting parts and sourcing things like that makes things a bit harder. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Jules. Do you have any other notes, any thoughts about the Polestar 3 that you think the Out of Spec community should know? Potential buyers of the Polestar 3 or Polestar vehicles?
I definitely say if it is a potential, if it's on your short list, or even if it's on your long list, definitely take a look at it. It's something I was put back by, and I've had 40 vehicles, and it takes a lot to make me impressed by a vehicle. It's like most vehicles, like, okay, another vehicle, A to B, cool. This is how I set it. Okay, this one impressed me. The sound system's really good if you get the Bowers and Wilkins. They have a lot of options. I don't know. I can't speak for the lumber trim ones. I'm sure they're really nicely appointed, but it just seems like a really solid built vehicle. I definitely would recommend, looking at them. They're running some, actually, they just are now running $15,000 clean vehicle incentive, which is crazy. I mean, they're obviously they're trying to move the vehicles. I think because of the current administration that's in office we don't know how that tax credit's going to go. So they're definitely trying to push some stuff and get some momentum out the door. It's a head turner. I've already got a lot of people looking at me. My Rivian kind of blends in now in town. There's I think 15 or 16 other Rivians in my area. I'm the second Polestar 3 owner that I've seen in town, and it turns heads. So I say definitely take a look at it, and if you're from the Northeast area, check out Polestar Princeton, Philadelphia. That's where I got mine from. Sam is the manager there. He didn't tell me to shout him out, but I'm shouting him out anyhow. He was really awesome to deal with. He made it super easy. They dropped it off my house. Like I can't complain about that.
Yeah, sounds like a really good experience. I've said it a million times already in this episode, but I think Geely Polestar, I really think they are here to stay. And there are a few that I can give props to when it comes to really pushing what EVs are worth and how they're viewed from buyers. And I think Polestar is doing a good job kind of representing EVs. But thank you so much for joining me, Jules.
Hey, you're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. As mentioned in the beginning, if you have an interesting EV, no matter what part of the world you are on, feel free to email us and we'll happy to have you on. Thank you so much for being the pretty much first episode part of this maybe series, Jules, and I'm looking forward to having you on again, man.
Hey, well, I was happy to be on, and I'll be happy to be on again.
Awesome. Thank you. This is the Out of Spec Podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.